Today's guest is going to blow your mind if you are a business owner, because she's going to be talking to you today about how you can take pure, just basic business ownership to the next level. We're going to be talking about how you can use real estate to enhance your existing business, help bring some tax benefits, and create generational wealth that you can pass down to your children and to many generations to come. So I have with me today, Katie Kim. I'm so excited that she's here. And that's what we're going to be diving into today. Hey, you leader, entrepreneur, business owner, solopreneur, whatever you call yourself, we know you're a visionary business builder, wealth seeker looking to combine a passion for doing good with leading consciously. It's time to shift from a traditional focus of pure wealth accumulation to one that integrates well-being and fulfillment. You're here for a purpose, and it's time to shine your light. So here we go. Welcome back to the Conscious Edge podcast. I'm your host, Alicia St. Germain, and founder of the Conscious Edge, where I help women entrepreneurs get out of their own way so they can reach their big, juicy goals. Today, I have with me Katie Kim. I'm going to let you, Katie, tell people a little bit more about what you do, but I'm so excited to have you here because Katie is somebody who has an amazing heart. I've known you now for, what has it been, a year now I met you?
Little over a year, yeah.
Little over a year. You sat in my workshop. I will never forget it. Front row, sat in my workshop. There were tears.
Tons of tears. Oh my gosh.
Tons of tears. But oh my gosh, you were so open and willing to dig in and do the deep work. And I love that about you, that you're just always taking yourself to the next level and then helping your clients go to the next level as well. So please take a moment though, Katie. Tell people who you are and more about what you do in this world.
Yes, thanks. I'm excited to be here. And so I grew up in a third generation construction real estate development family and went to college and got my degree, came back, ran the construction company, decided I wasn't fulfilled. And I realized through my corporate journey and the family business and the entrepreneur startups, the fulfillment was something that was the search, right? Is I want to do something I'm passionate about. And I relaunched the Kim Group in 2015 with a developer for fee service. And that to me was the gold mine. That was what God was pulling me through all those years, all the scars, the lessons. The reason I did that is because there were so many business owners that would come to us and say, we're growing, we're doing great, but we only have enough money to either hire more people or to expand, but we don't have enough to do both. And they would get in this paralysis by analysis conversation with themselves and not be able to leverage the different tools we have to expand the business. And so I was like, that shouldn't be a thing.
I have a question first before you do that.
Yeah.
For our listeners, developer for fee, what does that mean?
So what developer for fee means is you can hire me to do your real estate development. And a lot of times when I say real estate development, if you have a business, we look at both at the same time. We look at how your business is developing and the real estate, or you can hire us to guide you and hold your hand through the process like a consultant or a coach would do. Mm-hmm. Either way, 100% of the decisions on the project are yours because it's your project. What we do is really help you see if you make this decision, these are the pros, the cons, but it's deeper than just doing the real estate development portion because we're looking at your business, which for a lot of our business owners is very personal. It's their blood, sweat, and tears. And what we look at is how is your business set up for you and your family and that generational wealth? And where do you want to take it? What do you want to do? So we take a step back when we first start engaging with clients because I got to know where your North Star is. I got to know what this passion is, what drives you on this business day in, day out, and where are the bottlenecks. And so to be able to see that, because if I can't see that and we grow you or we get you into a bigger space, that bottleneck's just going to become bigger, right? So we look at both.
What kind of business are you talking about? Because I'm thinking there's like service-based businesses and then there's like people who have businesses that are providing a product. Are we talking about brick and mortar? Are we talking about what kind of business?
Yes. So most of the ones that we work with day in, day out are making a product. They're more of like a bakery or we're working with a distillery. We do work with investors that want to create their development business. We've done a lot of help with those. And those are fun. But the ones with the products have a special place in my heart because
so brick and mortar, like people that have a location, a gym, a yoga studio, a bakery. Okay. So like you have a physical place, that kind of business. And then of course, real estate investors who physically work within real estate, period.
Correct.
And maybe have a vision for something that they want to create. We were just talking before we hit record, somebody you spoke to that has like a vision for like a community plan that they want, and you can assist with something like that. So it's like a vision driven piece.
Yes. And those are the ones I love. I mean, those conversations when you start talking to those individuals, they have this passion, they have this fire, and that's the grit that I think, grit and passion that every business owner needs to really grow their business and level up, because it's hard. And if you don't have somebody guiding your hand that you can trust and it's going to give you options and ask you questions and hold you accountable, then you get stuck in that wheel, right? That paralysis by analysis wheel.
Mm-hmm. I teased at the beginning about how this can take a business to the next level. Like if you have a business and you go from having to pay rent, right? Is that what you're talking about? You go from having, because there's an expense, a line item where you have to pay rent for your physical location. And so one of the things you look at doing is like, how can they actually bring another stream of income in by now owning the space where they have their business? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, owning the space where they have their business or moving into a space that they can't own for their business to expand, and really looking at it as two separate revenue sources. So you have your business operations and then you have the real estate play, which a lot of times people know that there's good tax strategy involved with it, but they don't understand how to use both. And so a lot of times when we step in and working with a client, people don't have enough money to step into that real estate strategy yet because they've put so much into their business. So what we do is help create structures that maybe we bring investors into the real estate, but we don't bring them into the business. We structure a raise where, hey, they're in there for 5 years investment. We refinance, go out, but we leverage the business for all those economic incentives, grants, loan programs that the business qualifies for to lessen the debt load on the business. So for example, the bakery project, Trefsker's Bakery that I know we've talked about before, we were expanding them into 3 times the space, but only putting 1.5 times the cost on the business. So from the business standpoint, if you think about the P&Ls, you're just looking at a line item for rent. But then on the real estate side, that's where we brought investors in. So they are not part of the business. They're part of the real estate.
Interesting. Fascinating. So how does someone know that they need or should do something like this? Like, who's the type of person that's ready for this kind of next step in their business?
I would say any business owner that's looking to grow or is looking for other financial streams of income with a steady business, because a lot of times changing the game in terms of bringing the real estate investing and the real estate revenue in as a revenue path changes your tax strategy. And a lot of times people are saying, well, I own this business. I am just getting killed. I'm getting killed. A lot of times they don't have the full benefit of the real estate tax strategy in play. So first we would assess that for them and say, does this make sense? Is it a good move? But it's also a way for a different exit for businesses. So it's not only a strategy while they're operating the business, it also helps them as an exit strategy. So think about doctor's offices or dentist office are a big one, where the dentist may want to sell their business to a new dentist coming in, and they may do a seller financing deal. Like buying businesses is really hot right now. But that dentist, the OG dentist, will still own the building. So he would still have that revenue source, even though he sold the business off. And you could then even offer it as a carrot after you buy the business. We close that down. You can also buy the real estate. So you have more leverage, more opportunities by getting in the game on the exit, as well as the tax strategy throughout when you're running and operating your business.
Okay, so that's fascinating. That's fascinating, right? So as someone is actively running their business, when we talk about creating wealth, we always want to start to think about how can we replace ourselves so that you can step back more, have more time freedom, be able to go live the life that you want because you've built the business and you've got really good people in place. Mm-hmm. But now we're even talking about the exit strategy. You've built the business. You want to sell off the business, but you want to hold the real estate. And immediately in my head, I'm like McDonald's, right? Because they're in the real estate business. They're not actually in the brand. Right? So you hold the real estate so that you have, even looking at it as reoccurring revenue on your plate that can be more of a retirement strategy for you.
Yes, because a lot of small businesses, they're putting everything into their business, right? Half of them I'll say, like, have you not taken a paycheck? Yes. Okay, so now you've really owned a business is what I say. But they won't look at like 401k plans or simple IRAs, which are more cost effective for smaller business and those strategies. So their business is everything. So then when they get to sell their business, this is my cash out. This is my cash out. And that usually is what stops the business from being sold because they have this number in their head that they have to meet. Well, if we can put a strategy in place now for when you exit, then you have different options, different levers that you can pull when you're exiting out. So for example, my parents, they transitioned out of their business. We actually sold their portfolio for them and they did a portion of it as seller financing. So they're getting a really nice check for the next 10 years that can fund their retirement. And it's in a tax advantageous way. So it gives you options. And I think that's where a lot of times when we level up, we don't realize all the tools that we now have at this level. And that's what I love talking with our business owners is where are you going? Okay, once we get to these levels, these tools now come into play. Let's talk about how we want to get them on the roadmap now. And whether it's passing the company on to their kids and look at how you do that tax strategy. But the real estate play cannot be underestimated in terms of the value and the control it gives you in that exit. Yeah.
So this is your superpower, really, in being able to analyze these and look at all of these and create this plan with people. How did you get this superpower?
I got pissed off, to be honest. So I have a master's of computer science. And so I can code in 14 languages, which means nothing now with AI. But in that process, it's like an if then else statement is how my brain goes and codes and makes programs. So I took that logic and I put it into projects. But when I was what pissed me off is there were so many business owners that came into our construction office at the time and said, we want to do this. And it's like, no, you don't. You kind of want to do like this over here. Mm-hmm. And that we wanted to step into that with them. And we did a lot of design, build, lease with an option to buy. So we would work with the owner to design their building, lease it to them, and then we would let them buy it over time. And I'm like, why don't more people do this? And a lot of times people only know what they've been exposed to, right? So they know I buy a building or I rent a building. Okay, that's it. Well, there's so many other options. And the other thing when I had those conversations is these are great businesses. These are the mom and pop businesses in our community that are generational, right? Like I think of Tresker's Bakery. They've been in business since 1861 and they rented the whole entire time. And I'm thinking, what generational wealth could that family have had if they put real estate in play early on? Now, I mean, I can't even tell you the life-changing that project has done for them. And so in doing that, looking at those businesses needing to expand to 3x, well, we can't put the debt on that business because it will tank it, right? And that's the biggest thing that I think business owners are afraid of. Well, I got to grow to here, but that means that my costs come up with me. And how do I get the runway money to make the leap and leap fast enough that it catches up and it rolls out fine? There's a lot of incentive programs that are available that honestly, the people who are doing the programs don't really know how to use them for a majority of the part. And that's what really started pissing me off, because I would send people to different offices where these programs were, and they'd come back crying, being like, they confused me even more. I don't know what to do with it. And I'm like, okay,
What kind of offices are we talking about?
So some of your city offices, your economic development offices, and they're great people. Like we work with them all the time. Great people, but they don't understand development. They don't understand the financial structures that banks need to get them financed, or that business plans need to be financed. They understand the metrics for the programs that they run, and that's their job. Again, we work with them all the time. Love them. They're great people. It's just, they don't know the other part of the puzzle. And what we do is we bring the whole puzzle to the table and start putting the pieces together for them. So whether we can...
You're kind of the person that's like mediates they know their part, and then we know this part over here. And you're kind of that middle like mediator that makes them talk to each other.
Yeah, I called myself a translator the other day. I'm like, I'm going to translate their English. They said this. What this means for you is this. This is how it goes in the capital stack.
Well, on the computer side of things, I'm like, you're kind of like a Zap. Like, you like...
Give me your input and we're going to do this. Yeah, that's actually a good way to put it.
Yeah. And for those that don't know, a Zapier is like two programs that don't actually integrate with each other. And then there's this thing in the middle that you can create that makes the two programs talk to each other.
That's right. I'm a Zap developer.
You're a Zap.
I'm a Zap. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Yeah. Well, and when I started doing it, I just, again, like I said, I got upset because I was just like, this is the program I'm talking about. And they would get so confused. And when I outlined it in a way that made sense to the office that was giving the grant and to our client, they're like, yeah, that's what we're talking about. I'm like, I know, like, this is the translation, right? This is a Zap, if you will. Yeah. And it was that moment that I realized, like, oh, people don't see this naturally. And like, when you say that,
Yeah, I was going to say, so like number one takeaway from what you've said so far is if you have a business, it is possible that there are grants and incentives for you to expand your business. You just have to go talk to and make relationships with your city.
Yep.
And also you support your clients with that as well. But someone could very well go to their city and develop that relationship. And there may very well be grants and things that will help support their growth, is what I'm hearing from this.
Yes. And the incentives come at different levels of complexity and size. So if you're a business that's looking to expand and you're going to add, say, 5 people, there's a lot of economic development loans, grants that will give you $15,000 to $25,000 per full-time employee that you hire. So that's, a simple entry level incentive, if you will. The more complex ones are if you're doing a building and you want to get some property tax rebate or you want to get some sales tax rebate. Those are where they're a little bit more complex because of how you have to structure the information to show that you're going to produce it in order to be able to get it back. But a lot of times that's majority of what we start to do with businesses is structure what value are you bringing to the community with growing your business. Okay, Now, how much can we ask for that back in your project to help really stabilize you and 10x that growth? Because then everybody wins, right? The community, the business, everybody's stable at that point in time.
So here's a question. How do small business owners, and this is a big conversation that's happening all the time. Now I'm hearing it because it's very popular to buy businesses.
Yes.
When we're talking about doing something like this, where is it ideal to do something like this? Because I'm thinking about, how do these small business owners compete with a lot of the big corporations that we see everywhere in our cities?
Well, and that's really was the big point that ticked me off, to be honest, was it was when the big companies come into town, you always see the news releases that they got many millions in incentives and this and then. I'm like, why aren't we supporting the businesses that have kept our community up and going already? Right. I'm born from a small town, homegirl. I love my small businesses. I love being able to go and know the business owners, their product, their heart. And it's that these incentives are there. And really the bigger companies have those teams that run the numbers. The small businesses don't have anybody. So that's where I said, I'm going to be that person. I want to be that person that helps them translate that. So we created this developer for fee because trying to figure out a better thing to call it. Nobody was doing it in the industry. Nobody was helping other people do developments because they were doing them themselves. And I still do development.
You're the secret weapon. You're the secret weapon for small business owners to be able to take advantage of the same kinds of grants and incentives that these big companies are getting because they have dedicated teams that are out there looking for it. That's fascinating.
Yeah. And a lot of times they're already going to be growing. They're already going to be producing this much revenue and sales tax in the community. They're just not getting their fair share to help them grow faster.
Okay, this is taking my mind to a whole nother level because people are looking to buy businesses. And now I'm like, oh, so you can not only look at the viability and the ability to grow a business and add value to a business to grow that business that you might be purchasing, but you can also look at what's my opportunity to put some real estate around that business that's going to even create more impact, more wealth, more opportunity.
And you could structure them.
Yeah, that has me thinking at a whole nother level. Like,
yeah, when you were talking, I was thinking too, because again, I'm structuring it in my brain, right? If you have a business that you're going to be buying and you're looking at it, there's a whole different strategy and different tactic with the real estate side and the tax strategy and the generational wealth strategy. So if you're buying the business, the typical, I would say the most way that I've seen it structured is seller financing with maybe a little bit of cash infusion, depending on how the business is. So if you can buy the business without bringing investors into the business, then look and say, do they lease? Do they own the building? Okay, who gets the building? Who gets, and how long is the lease? Can we move the business into a building a couple blocks down that now we can own? And then you can bring investors into the building, but not the business. And, have that exit strategy for your investors on the building. Pairing the two together can also open up doors for more incentives and more grants that you may not know about. For example, the bakery, we were able to take the fact that they were doing an urban infill project. So they're taking an existing building, they're relocating their business to there, right? So, and then they're increasing sales. Now with the building side, we're going to increase property taxes. We're going to add more sales tax and we're going to add more revenue to that community. Well, in order to do that, we need some of that back to help us get started. And that's what we negotiate in those structures. That's what we help our clients see, that their business is bringing more than a service to the community. It's bringing revenue. And that is something that, but for that business going there, that city's not going to get.
I love that holistic, impactful, purpose-driven approach that you bring. So often like, if you're in business just to make the money, like it's going to be a real grind, I think.
Yeah.
And when you can start to put purpose and impact around your business and it ripples out, not just to the people that are directly your customer, but now you start making an impact in your community and helping your community be better. I think it makes it easier to wake up and work hard on the hard days.
Yes.
When you don't feel like it, bringing that purpose piece. So I want to shift gears just a little bit because you actually recently started coaching with me.
I did.
Just within the last couple months. And I wanted to find out from you, number one, what was it that you said, okay, it's time, I need a coach? I mean, I know you've had coaching and you're in communities and you do personal development all the time, but what was it that made you say, here's what's not working and I really need support?
So as we talked about before, I met you over a year ago at one of your sessions. And yes, I don't want to say she made me cry. She uncovered things that allowed a release. But it really was at InvestorCon this year. I had told myself the story, which is funny because, when you coach your clients to do something that you're doing, you're like, oh crap, I just did that. Right. And I was thinking to myself, like, okay, well, when I get to this level, I'm going to hire Alicia because I know she's going to unlock levels in my brain and my business that I'll then have capacity for. And one of my accountability partners, Cheryl, she goes, I'm sorry, excuse me? Like, because I hold her accountable. And she's like, I'm going to repeat what you just said. And she ran my own script on me, but that's always fun when it comes back. It says, okay, so if time and money were not an option, would you hire her today? I'm like, well, yeah, because I know and then I went into all the reasons what I knew was going to happen. And she's like, so do you need a loan? And I was like, I don't need your loan. And she's like, get your ass in gear, get your butt in gear. And that was it. It was really that accountability of holding myself and getting out of my own way. And I think that's what I help my clients do too, right? Like even the call we were talking about before we hit record, one of the ladies was like, I think somebody should do this. It's like, why not you? Why not you? Why don't you do this if you're passionate about it? And to the point, when you pivot, it's the passion that drives us. And when you don't have the debt on the business to worry about, right? So we either make decisions out of abundance or scarcity, right? We move towards pleasure or away from pain, and more than likely we move away from pain. So we mostly figure our brain is in that scarcity mindset. And so in thinking that way, you can't have the joy a lot of times that you want and the reason you created your business. So by leveraging those incentives and those structures, we take that debt and that weight off the business so they can start to play and be parts in the community and really engage. And that's in essence what you did for me when we were talking at InvestorCon, and you're like, okay, well, what would that look like for you? And kind of walked me through and asked me, I think you asked me like 2-3 questions. I'm like, what am I waiting on? Because to me, I'm always looking to level myself up to be better for my clients and push myself to show up better. And it's an addiction, right? To constantly get better. And it was saying, I got to get out of my own way.
Yeah. I remember having a very specific conversation with you, and I looked at you and I said, Katie, you're amazing. Like, you're a powerhouse, and here's where you're getting in your own way. And you're like, okay, so what do we do? And you were like, I could tell it was like a hard swallow. Like, what do we do? Because it was almost like I'm tired of my own excuses.
Yes.
Is kind of how I felt like you were, what you conveyed.
Yes, because I give everything to my clients and my academy and my students. And the hard part is when you're a solo entrepreneur, or when they say it's lonely at the top, they don't really tell you what that means. It means that you can't talk to anybody about anything, and you don't have anybody to call you on your limiting beliefs, right? And that's one thing you do. Ooh, amazing.
Yeah, that's a big thing for leaders. That's a big thing that happens with leaders is, number one, there is a certain persona, like a certain level of leadership that you want to put out into the world. And yet behind closed doors, you maybe need some support. And so it's like, where do I go without like exposing, or not even exposing, but how do I not bring my mess of things that I need to process and work with out into the public so that it lands on the people who follow me?
Yeah.
So how do I be responsible with that is one. Yeah. And then the second thing is leaders are such strong leaders that sometimes you don't take the feedback that people are trying to give you, or they don't give it to you at all because you shut it down because you kind of like don't want to hear it. And so people like back off because like, oh, okay, because you got your stuff together. And so sometimes it takes someone to come in and say, like, I see you. I have a pretty high BS meter, a pretty good BS meter. And I will tell you what you need to hear because I know that I'm doing it from the place of I see you in your greatness. And I want you to show up more fully. And so I think that it takes, then this is why I say I love working with you because you are so open to that coaching and you are responsible. And even if you don't like what I have to say, you're like, oh, I hate you and I love you.
I don't think I ever said I hate you.
No, you never said I hate you.
But I think it's, when you're saying that, I'm like, yes. And I feel like we're all really ducks on a pond, right? We have to have that professional, I'm all together for my team, my clients, all that. But our feet are under the water. Like, okay, what's my next move? What's my next strategy? What am I missing? And it can be exhausting. And to have somebody do what you say is like when you say, Katie, I see you. I see you. And this is a safe place. And I think especially for business owners, a lot of times we come to the table with scars. We come that somebody has not been in integrity with us in a business deal. We got screwed over. So we go into the cocoon, right? We just go inside and we can only grow to a certain point. And then we have to break out of that cocoon. And for me, you asking those questions had me realize I was in another cocoon. And a lot of times we grow and then we're like, okay, this is a good safe spot. I like this spot right here. And we get back, we start to weave the cocoon all the way around. Like, we're good. All these boundaries are coming. And then we kind of get stuck and we just get like restrained. And it's like, how did I get here? And it's invisible. It happens. And that's what I mean by like, then when you have to level up, you need other tools and that.
So what's the immediate changes that you've made? And we've got a really big vision for you, but what are the immediate changes that you think that landed for you just in the first 60 days?
Showing up how I truly want to show up and guarding my calendar. So I have that time, as I mentioned, when you don't have like the debt on the business, when you don't have those different restraints that come from scarcity, to sit in that and just guard the time to have the process to think, which has then re-engaged my creativity, which then brings me joy and passion and energy. Like I've drank 10 Red Bulls, which usually scares some people sometimes. But
not that you actually drank 10 Red Bulls, but like you got that kind of like energy.
Woo, yeah, we can conquer the world. And to me, I always bring my scars. I feel opening up to other people about my journey and my scars, my failures, my setbacks gives me better perspective to come in and meet people where they're at. Whether I'm coming into a business and we're assessing their finances and saying, where are we at? Are we shoe boxes and receipts? Are we Excel? Do we have QuickBooks and something and they look at me, I'm like, I've been through everything. Like, where are we at? Right.
Yeah.
And that to me was a great reminder of like all the work we've done when we did the soul purpose reading, like that hit like to another level. And I think all my accountability group wants to do that.
And let me just tell people, so soul purpose is part of my coaching. I do something called a soul purpose reading, which is based on your name. And I don't know why. There are things my clients will tell you. I say there are things that they work. I don't know why they work. It's something bigger than myself. And so I sit with you and we go through and I explain to you what different sounds that your name makes, how that translates into numbers based on Hebrew numerology. And it brings forth challenges that you may face because you need to learn something. And I always say, and we say this in different ways, right? If there is a lesson that your soul needs to learn in order for you to fulfill your mission, it will keep coming to you over and bigger until you accept the lesson and change. It's talents that you lean into, it's goals that you have, and it's really like, what is the purpose? What is the bigger purpose that you serve in this world? And it was very interesting. I was listening to a podcast. Everybody, I think, who listens to me regularly here knows I listen to the Diary of a CEO all the time, but I heard a fact that they quoted on there that people who do not believe in something bigger than themselves, some kind of purpose, that they are 3 times more likely to be depressed. So to me, I was like, just from a scientific standpoint, it doesn't matter what's real, what's not real. You know, you have your Christian belief system, Katie, but the biggest piece, I think, is that we have to realize that we're here for a bigger purpose. And when you operate from that place, it is more fulfilling. It makes life have meaning.
Yeah.
And I know when we did that soul purpose reading with you for several days, for weeks, you were like, oh, that like just hit my heart. So tell me, what was that like?
Yeah. So I bring faith into everything I do. It's a big part of me and what's motivated me and really kicked me in the butt on different points of my life. I definitely believe everything, God has a hand in everything. And if their belief in a higher power is something else, that will guide them. For me, when it landed is I'm an empath. Most people don't know about that about me. And I see God talks to me in numbers. And so when we were doing the soul purpose and you put up this slide, like, this is number, I'm like, oh yeah. And we started looking, I'm like, well, that, and I shared with you during the time, I'm like, well, that means this to me. And it was interesting how it was similar.
So just to give context, there's numbers. There's 22 Hebrew fire letters. And so there's numbers associated with different things, and the numbers mean different things. And so what Katie was saying was like, oh my gosh, these are the numbers that I see all the time. And this is what the numbers mean to me. And they meant very similar things. This is where I said, I don't know how this works, but it just does. And I just let it be. And if it works for you and if it lands for you and it's powerful, great. Let's use it to do good things in the world. And if it doesn't land for you, then that's okay too. I think you even prayed before we did it, like, let me see and hear what I need to see and hear.
Yes.
And that's what I thought was really perfect in the way that you handled that.
Yeah. And to me, I've adopted this prayer when I go before meetings and when I go into situations that are challenging and are like, is this really for me, God? Like, is this really something you want me to dig in? And I basically say, God, if this is a door that I'm meant to walk through, open it in a way that no one can shut it, including myself. And if this is not a door that you want me to walk through, close it in a way that nobody can open it, including myself. And so having that inner peace and going into the rooms, into the meetings, now I'm seeking to find what God wants for me in this room. Am I giving some knowledge of myself, or am I taking some knowledge for myself? Like, am I pulling a skill in a network or something like that? And that, to me, it takes that stress out, right? And it just, when we were talking about even going into that reading, it was like, okay, you're only going to let me hear what I really need to hear. And in that time when we were going through some of the different aspects and the trials, I'm like, yeah, that lands, because I fought God's vision for me, his plans for me to go out on my own with my own business. I'm like, no, I'm good. I can do this. I can do that. I fought that for years and then finally leaped. And I was so fulfilled and so rewarded and so blessed. And then even with the academy, like, it took me literally like 5 years to get out of my own head and kept putting it on my heart, and finally launched it to January this year and seeing the path that has opened up and the opportunities to help more people and really lean into doing it the way I want to do it. Because everybody tells you, when you're starting a new business, I usually go out and buy somebody a beer and I tell them the crab story and I say, everybody's going to give you advice. Take it, do what works for you and lean in because it's your business and it's your brand. But I can tell you, everybody's like, oh, you're putting too much time here. But I'm like, this is how I want to show up. So I'm good with that. And I'm in alignment with that. And yeah.
I love that. I love that. Well, Katie, thank you so much for being here. You are clearly a wealth of knowledge. It is such a pleasure to work with you and in all the different ways that we've collaborated and then being able to coach you. I just so appreciate your time and sharing with everyone some possibilities for creating wealth and taking their businesses to the next level and looking at things in a little different way. So any final words?
I would say if anybody is thinking about getting a coach or getting out of their own head or taking that leap, to definitely check out Alicia
you're so
to engage and to do it. Because, I wish I would have done it sooner, right? And I know my clients said the same thing. Like, I wish I would have engaged sooner, and
yeah.
And if again, we talk with a lot of business owners that just are people who want to get off and take step one. Step one's the hardest step. That's the hardest step. Once you can take step one, it's downhill from there.
And how do people find you?
People can find me online at katiekim.com or social media. The handles are the Katie Kim. And pretty much you can reach me anywhere on there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Katie. And with all of that being said, I'm sending you so much love. And if Jonathan were here, he would say, be well. Thanks for listening to the Conscious Edge podcast. Make sure you subscribe and take a moment to be kind and share this episode with someone you care about. Leave a review to help us bring more compassionate leaders building businesses and creating wealth to the table. And for show notes, head over to consciousedge.com/podcast. This podcast and the linked materials are presented solely for general information, educational, and entertainment purposes and should not be taken as personal or medical advice or any kind of mental health treatment. Please consult a medical or mental health professional if you feel you need such services. Please be advised that all investing and entrepreneurial endeavors involve risk, and the use of the education and information on this podcast and linked materials is at the user's own risk.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM, women's voices amplified.